If you want Justin Fields to stay and return as the Bears starting quarterback in 2024, like this video. He's certainly making his case. One more game to go against the Green Bay Packers. Hit that like button if you want JF1 to remain in Chicago, because on today's show, we explore the 3 different options Ryan Poles has with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Chicago Bears Now is presented by Roan. Get the best and most comfortable clothing out there with Roan. Go to roan.com/chatsports. Get you 20% off this new year. All right, like I said, I'm Harrison Graham. On today's show, I'm breaking down the 3 options, at least the 3 options I foresee for Ryan Poles to do with the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, which the Bears clinched on Sunday thanks to Carolina's loss. Okay, number 1, draft a quarterback, right? Like, that is obviously an option for Chicago and for Ryan Poles here. And these are kind of the 3 quarterbacks that are in that top 5 range. Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, Drake Maye, the North Carolina quarterback, and then LSU's Jayden Daniels. And if you're laughing off Jayden Daniels, well, it's only one draft analyst that has said this so far. But Mel Kiper says, from what he's heard in league circles, Jayden Daniels could be in the mix with the number 1 overall pick. I'm not saying that. That's Mel Kiper. I think Williams and Maye are ahead of him. But we've seen fast risers before. It's similar to his former LSU Tigers quarterback. Joe Burrow went from off the grid to number 1 overall his last season. Jayden Daniels has certainly made a similar leap here. I don't know if he gets to number 1 range, but did want to include him in this discussion. Now, before we break down these 3 quarterbacks, who is your favorite QB prospect this year? And just answer this with a standpoint of, like, take Justin out of it. I'm not saying who would you rather have, Justin or one of these guys. Just which prospect do you like the most? You can answer that. Type CW for Caleb Williams, type DM for Drake Maye, or you can type JD for Jayden Daniels. You look at Caleb Williams, obviously, and he's going to be the name that is discussed the most, whether it's the Bears or other teams trying to select at number 1 overall. Decorated career starting at Oklahoma, where he took over for Spencer Rattler, following Lincoln Riley to USC, wins the Heisman Trophy as a sophomore. Some road bumps this year, more so as a team than Williams himself, but he also had some struggles this season, even though he put up huge numbers. We know he's mobile as well. He's a very good prospect. Now, he's a little undersized. He's probably going to be in that 6'1 range, but he can sling it. He can make all the throws. He's athletic as hell. There are some leadership / off-the-field questions that have to be answered by Ryan Poles and any other team evaluating him, but he's a very good prospect for very good reasons. He's got the full toolbox. Okay, you look at Drake Maye. More of the prototypical build, right? 6'4", 6'5", between 220 and 230 pounds. Good accuracy. He can throw within the pocket. He can throw off platform. He's mobile. He's a very good prospect in his own right. Drake Maye, numerically, statistically, didn't have as good of a season this year, but he was still very, very good. North Carolina's season kind of just fell apart. You look at his career rushing numbers like I did with Williams. He's very athletic. He can move the chains with his feet as well. I would certainly, if I was a draft-needy team, be comfortable taking Maye at or near the top of the list. Don't freak out because he's a North Carolina kid. Him and Mitch Trubisky aren't the same players. I think Drake Maye is much more draft-ready than Mitchell Trubisky was, plus 2-year starter versus 1-year starter, which is what Mitch was. And then you have Jayden Daniels, who played 3 years at Arizona State, transferred to LSU, had a pretty good year last year, and then this year just has this unbelievable season. He develops better than I ever thought he could be as a passer. Super accurate, threw for almost 4,000 yards. A 10-to-1 touchdown-interception ratio throwing the football. Oh, and by the way, he rushed for 1,100 yards this year and 10 more touchdowns and won the Heisman Trophy. Jayden Daniels is going to be in the mix in the top 5, top 10. Again, I don't know if he can get to that number 1 pick range, but I think he's a guy that if he has a strong combine, what teams are going to like about him, 5-year starter, tons of experience. I think he's going to be a kid that people love in the interview room because he's been through different experiences at 2 different colleges. And I think people, too, he's a much better prospect than Brock Purdy was, obviously. I just think teams are going to value those who have just seen more bullets, right? Like, you start 5 years in college, you've seen a lot of different schemes, a lot of different defenses, a lot of different looks. Like, You've gone through the ups and downs. Teams are going to value that. So Jayden Daniels is certainly an interesting name to keep an eye on moving forward here. All right, we'll get to the Bears' second option here again. 3 options with the number 1 pick. Draft the quarterbacks number 1, and we'll get to number 2 in a second. But we do appreciate Roan for sponsoring today's show. Roan.com/chatsports get you 20% off here in the new year. Roan reset the male's closet because it was due for a radical reinvention with their commuter collection. It's the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man, and here is why. They can get you ready for any occasion. If you went out for New Year's Eve last night, you could rock out with some of their dress shirts. You could keep it casual with the golf polo. You can rock their comfortable, stretchy pants. They got shorts as well. Very comfortable, very breathable with their 4-way stretch fabric. So if you're on the move a lot, Rowan is going to keep you comfortable. Looking good has always been easy. Plenty of clothing companies have you looking good, but feeling good, being comfortable, that's the challenge. And that is what Rowan has knocked out of the ballpark. So get 20% off at rowan.com/chatsports. That's RHONE.com/chatsports. Get 20% off today. They've got odor-free technology as well. And machine washable clothes. I can throw this in the washing machine, air dry it, boom, ready to go. Link is in the comments and in the description. Roan.com/chatsports. Code chatsports gets you 20% off. Okay, number 2. You could just stay at number 1 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr., right? I think he's the most can't-miss prospect in this class. Like, I don't see a scenario where he fails or even underwhelms. Like, I think at worst he's like a unbelievable number 2 in the NFL or a low-tier number 1. At best, he's one of the better receivers in recent memory, if not of all time. I really think he's got it all. He's been productive in college. He's 6'4". He's great after the catch. He runs good routes. He's got an awesome catch radius. Like, there's nothing on his tape that shows signs of weakness. The one thing people say is, well, he's got a bit of a thin frame. Okay, like he's built a little like A.J. Green. A.J. Green had a hell of an NFL career, and Marvin Harrison is much better after the catch than him. And by the way, as a kind of a second bullet point of this option here, you could trade down for Marvin Harrison and draft him with the number 3 overall pick, number 4 overall pick. You look at a team like Washington or New England, whoever ends up 3 there potentially, they could move up. You get there at 3, stay in front of Arizona, take Marvin there. So that's certainly an option. That would be a preferred option if you're going to go Marvin, to trade down, still get some equity, and then take him instead of taking him at number 1. But certainly drafting him at number 1 is an option as well. Now, if you want Marvin Harrison Jr. in Chicago, spam MHJ in the comments. If you want Marvin Harrison Jr. with the Bears, type MHJ in the comments right now. I certainly would like to see him here, regardless of who the quarterback is, especially if you keep Justin Fields, though. Keep draft assets. Get him a big-time number 2 opposite of DJ Moore. MHJ in the comments if you want Marvin Harrison here. Help us reach 83,000 subscribers. We are just over 70 away, 72 subs away here on the channel. Sub for more Bears coverage, news, rumors, draft talk, coaching buzz. We got it all covered here on Chicago Bears Now. Hit the subscribe button. No live show today because it is New Year's, but still wanted to get this video out. That would be a happy New Year to me if we got to 83,000 subs. I would greatly appreciate it. Excuse me. All right, number 3. You could trade down. And now I know I casually mentioned that with Marvin, but like in general, you could just look to trade down and take the biggest package available, right? Now, there's a couple different options. Number 1, I do want to outline this. The reason why trading down is appealing. Because you traded down last year, and look what it turned into. Now, sometimes there's some luck involved. Like Ryan Poles did not necessarily think he was going to get the number 1 pick a year later if he traded down, but he got DJ Moore. 1,300-yard season and counting. He got Darnell Wright, quality starter at right tackle. He got Tyreek Stevenson, really good starting rookie corner who has gotten better throughout the year. He did land the number 1 overall pick. Again, some luck there certainly. And the Bears also have a second-round pick in the following draft in 2025. So the appeal to trading down is you can get a haul if you do that. Number 1, what a hell of a trade that's turned into from Ryan Poles. Again, there's a little luck involved, but he capitalized. He hit on the picks he got, and Carolina gave you the number 1 pick again. And number 2, like I said, you could get a ton. I think you could get more this year, depending on how far you trade down, because I think Caleb Williams and Drake Maye and even Jayden Daniels perhaps are better prospects than Bryce Young. Now, I look at some potential trade-up teams here. These 6 teams stand out to me. Number 1, the Washington Commanders. If they're at 3 in particular, there's already a report out there they like Caleb Williams. That's a team to keep in mind. You already have that trade partnership with them. You traded with them at the NFL trade deadline, got Montez Sweat. That could be a possibility. New England Patriots. If they're the team sitting at 3, they could look to move up. Now, if New England's at 2, I think they stay put and draft Drake Maye or Caleb Williams, whoever falls. But if they're at 3, they're a team that can move up. The New York Giants. They've played better throughout the season, but it's clear they need a quarterback. I don't think Daniel Jones is the future. They could be a team that looks to move up. The Atlanta Falcons. We saw Bears-Falcons. Taylor Heineke's awful. Desmond Ritter's awful. They're going to be in the market for a quarterback. Las Vegas Raiders. If they had average QB play this year, they'd probably be in the AFC playoffs. That defense is ready to win now. They just need a quarterback. And then the Denver Broncos. They're going to be further down, but the reason I mention them is Sean Payton last year, when he was working for Fox, went on television and said teams are going to be tanking for Caleb Williams. He called him generational. You don't think he'd like to get his hands on Caleb Williams? I think he would. The point is, let the games begin. Teams are going to be interested. You're going to have 3+, if not 5, 6, 7 teams looking to move up to get that number 1 overall pick and take their quarterback for the future. Bears have great options. They're in a good position. Shout out to Carolina for being a joke. All right. So again, the 3 options are, number 1, draft a quarterback. Number 2, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 3, trade down. Pick a scenario for the Bears. What would you do? Type 1 if you would draft a QB. Type 2 if you would draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Or type 3 if you would trade down. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. Happy New Year. Hope you stayed safe tonight. Enjoy the college football today. Should be a lot of fun. I think we're going to go live tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. That's the plan for now. Until then, bear down.